was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie. Please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom! Boom! I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Hello, my name is Penny S.T., and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. Before we get into this important interview, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that the Israel-Hamas war is 100 days old, and the Houthi rebels are trying their hardest to expand the war. Israel's been accused in the International Court of Justice of genocide, and the death and destruction for both sides has been horrific. Hundreds of thousands of civilians on both sides have been displaced, and anti-Semitism and Islamophobia is on a rampage. There's plenty that can be discussed, but I'd like to take a few minutes to listen to this video by Waymaker in Hebrew, Arabic, and English, shared by oneforisrael.org, praying for the hostages to be returned.
Would you take just a moment to pray that each of these hostages held captive by Hamas would be set free? Pray for the Waymaker to make a way for them to freedom.
أنت هنا حي وسطنا أعبدك أنت هنا تعمل بيننا أعبدك أنت فاتح الطريق صانع العجائب حافظ العهد نور في الظلمة ربي أنت ذا الإله فاتح الطريق صانع العجائب حافظ العهد نور في الظلمة ربي أنت ذا الإله
נהלך בחושך, האדום זה מי שאתה. פורץ דרך, אוסף אל שומר הברית, אור גם בחושך, האדום זה מי שאתה.
Touching every heart, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. Oh, I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. פורץ דרך, אוסף אל שומר הברית, אור גם בחושך, האדון זה מי שאתה. זה מי שאתה. That is who you are. זה מי שאתה. That is who you are. זה מי שאתה. Miracle worker, promise keeper, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
During this time, I have yet another reason to thank the peacemakers that I've had the privilege of interviewing on Peace with Penny, and I reach out for comfort by learning about the work they do. The peace organizations of Israelis and Palestinians working together that we've spoken with for nearly 3 years on Peace with Penny give me hope. I hope they do you as well. May the hostages be returned soon. Amen. For today's interview, we'll be speaking with Abdelrahman Sultan of EcoPeace Middle East. Let's call him Abed for short. EcoPeace Middle East is a unique organization that brings together Jordanian, Palestinian, and Israeli environmentalists. Their primary objective is the promotion of cooperative efforts to protect their shared environmental heritage. In so doing, they seek to advance both sustainable regional development and the creation of necessary conditions for lasting peace in their region. Abed is the EcoPeace Amman Deputy Director and Regional Programs Director. Abed has a Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Engineering from Jordan University of Science and Technology and holds a master's degree in Environmental Engineering from IHE Delft, the Netherlands. Abed worked for the Palestinian Institute for Arid Land and Environmental Studies, Palestinian Environmental Authority, EcoSult, and joined EcoPeace in 2000. He initiated the Jordan Eco Park in the Jordan Valley. Abed supports the sustainable coexistence and prosperity in the Middle East. He sees EcoPeace's model of environmental peace building as the viable option. Welcome, Abed.
Thank you. How are you?
Great. I'm excited to speak with you today about several subjects, including EcoPeace's impressive work, and we want to especially discuss how EcoPeace helps with peace in the region between Israelis and Palestinians. But first, I'd like to play a short video overview of EcoPeace Middle East.
We together face a common threat due to conflict and climate-induced water scarcity. The past 20 years have witnessed recurring drought, the deepest droughts in our recorded history. They have contributed to wider cross-border implications on increased water scarcity, political instability, as well as increased refugees and humanitarian crises in our region.
20th century assumptions that dictated water diplomacy led us down a path of conflict and competition. When a river is a border and is demised, there is poverty. So on the Jordanian side of the Jordan Valley, for instance, there's 40% unemployment. Poverty very much goes to the heart of the situation on the ground.
We need to involve the communities, the residents, the people that are most affected by the shortage of water that we are facing. We're a unique regional organization, the only regional organization that brings together Jordanians, Israelis, and Palestinian environmentalists to protect the very few shared water resources that we have in our region. We seek to advance both sustainable development, but to also build the necessary conditions for lasting peace.
Climate change means that cooperation is more needed than ever. Together we can meet the challenges we face and build a more peaceful, resilient global community.
So, Abed, can you describe EcoPeace to us?
EcoPeace Middle East, it's the only organization that is looking after the nature, people, and sustainable development in the Middle East. It was established in 1994, and the organization aim is to make sure that people living in the Middle East have equal access to resources to ensure their development and their livelihood is in good conditions. We understand the difficulty in the Middle East, and that's why having three people working together to share the understanding of how shall we protect nature together and develop the resources in a way that is sustainable for all, that is the main objective of EcoPeace Middle East. Of course, we need nature, we need resources, and we also need people who understands the need for coexistence and sustainable development. So it's a combination of so many factors together.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of EcoPeace? A little bit more. I know you just mentioned it.
So it was established right after the peace process, and the main objective back in 1994, when we had Egyptian, Israelis, Palestinian, and Jordanian, is to look at the impact of peace process on the environment. We thought that peace might come with some impacts, positive impact and negative impact on the environment. And we wanted to be safeguards of the environment, and we wanted to make sure that the peace process will not have adverse impact on the environment and societies. And that's why the establishment of EcoPeace at that time would help that people in this region understand the reality, the ecological reality, and understand how can we protect it together in a shared way. Later on, as EcoPeace started to learn about the environment conditions, we understood that the environment was very much degraded throughout so many years of conflict before the peace treaty 1994, and therefore the mission of EcoPeace was to restore the environment or rehabilitate the environment. And in order to do that, we wanted to make sure that the people in the Middle East understand the severity of the problem. So the mission has adjusted over the years in order to create two parallel objectives. One is to protect the environment and sustainability, and one is to advance peace building in order to do so. So it's combination of those two factors together in order to do that. And it expanded from only looking at the water resources into a holistic approach that we are going to describe in the interview.
How has the war impacted your work?
The war has very much negative impact on all of us in this region and beyond. First of all, it affected trust between people, that we can trust each other to work together towards the mentioned objectives. It also affected the lives of people. Thousands of people lost their lives. It affected the infrastructure, it affected the environment, it affected everything that we can imagine. And it has very negative consequences on the mindset of the people who live in the Middle East and beyond. We think that this is the exact thing that we were warning about, that we don't want to reach the level where we reach the military intervention. We wanted to resolve issues between the different people in this region without the need to go into military act. Going into military at the moment undermine all efforts for cooperation, and it puts it in a great danger. We see still the opportunity that people should come and stand together in order to call for the ceasefire and also restore trust between people. That will take probably decades in order to do so, and tremendous effort to do so. But this is something that's inevitable. We cannot continue to assume that the military intervention is the right intervention. We think that we needed to have more different approaches to solve issues and conflict in this region.
Now, you're an environmental engineer by profession. What has it been like for you to add conflict management to your resume?
Conflict management or conflict resolution, it's an important skill. It's a life skill. People need to learn how to live with the different problems, different conflict that we have. It could be on a daily basis, could be political problem or conflicts, etc. Moving from conflict management, and we'll speak about conflict management, into conflict resolution, it's a different set of art where we learn how to communicate our objective and communicate compromises. And that is something that is very much needed in the Middle East. We need to be able to speak our mind in a respectful way to everybody and our interests, and make sure that we come to a common agreement about what could be done, especially when we speak about shared future, when we speak about shared resources, when we speak about shared commonalities. At the moment, the conflict has a huge impact on the well-being of people. Almost everyone in this region is traumatized by scenes. I think that we need counseling, all of us. We need mental support. We need all kinds of support in order to overcome the horrific scene that we have seen from the media. Plus the fact that having this window open gives us hope that we can continue to advance things on the ground, because people have lost hope in this region that anything could be advanced. The level of destruction is unprecedented, if I may say,
Right.
and we can't live with that.
What have you learned from having to work in this environment with, on the best day, there's conflict, but now with the war? Anything surprise you?
Yes, we thought at EcoPeace that the common enemy is the climate change. And we thought that we should all, humans living in this area, should understand the magnitude of the threat that climate change poses on our existence in this region. It not only, the impact will not only be on the Middle East countries, but it can go beyond that to Europe and the United States, Africa, etc., because it has a domino effect that affects this region and the other region. We expected that more cooperation shall be achieved between the people to overcome this climate change threat. However, the war surprised all of us that we don't have this understanding of common future, and we start fighting between ourselves. And today we have this war in addition to climate change threat. So we have a multiplier threat effect on all of us. So the cumulative threat, it's unbearable at the moment.
What kind of programs do you have to manage the conflict?
The conflict, in order to manage the conflict, first of all, we need lots of education. Education about the nature of the conflict and scale, and the tools needed to understand the severity of the conflict and how can we resolve it. And we speak about conflict management, which is living with the conflict, so we can survive with the conflict. And we have witnessed during the so many years, through the 70 last years, that we lived with the conflict. We never resolved the root cause of the conflict. And at certain point, because the conflict was not resolved, we were able to reach this very low level of trust and destruction. However, if we move towards resolution, which is resolving the root cause of the problem, sharing understanding and compromising and accepting the opponents and the different views, and it's applied to everyone, then that we will reach different level of understanding and different level of reality. Unfortunately, we have to start again. This is something that we learned the hard way. We have been into so many different wars, and it wasn't enough to learn from them. So maybe this one at this scale would be the trigger for a change from conflict management into a conflict resolution.
I agree with you. There's got to be some positive that comes out of this. I have to say, I love this slide of Judy Garland and the saying, "Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true." And I really hope that peace will come after all this horror. Can you tell us what the Blue-Green Deal is, please?
The Green-Blue Deal, it's a repackage of the different campaigns EcoPeace is implementing in the Middle East. And it aims at sustainable development. It aims at peace at large in this region and with the other regions around us. EcoPeace looked at the Green-Blue Deal as an opportunity to advance a number of important dossiers in this region that are critical for the existence of this region. That includes the Jordan River, the water affairs, what we refer here between the water divide between Palestinian and Israelis, the water energy exchange, and education at large. So the whole activity of EcoPeace revolves around the Green Blue Deal, aimed towards a holistic management and holistic advancement of the principles we believe in, and that is very important. It's mimic the Green Blue Deal, Green Blue Deal of Europe, and this is something that helps us to have a good name for the work that we are doing here in the Middle East.
The Jordan River is in a sad state. Can you please talk about its condition and why it has suffered?
The Jordan River suffered from extensive water diversion. Jordan River used to be mighty river that used to bring around 1.3 billion cubic meters of water annually to the Dead Sea. Today, it's less than 4%, mostly drainage water and poor quality water. The whole management of the water of the Jordan River between Syria, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine was not sustainable. EcoPeace looked at the divide, which country is using how much or percentage of the Jordan River, and we find out that Israel uses the lion's share of about 52%, Syria is about 23%, and Jordan about 22%, and the Palestinians is around 1% of the water. So we can see that the water utilization is not equal. Upstream countries have more access to the fresh, clean water of the river, while downstream countries have the lower access and lower quality access to the resources. Today, the Jordan River suffers major consequences because of the water diversion and overutilization. What reached the Dead Sea is very polluted, and consequently, the ecosystems, the biodiversity has lost around 50% of its natural heritage that we used to have. We can see that it used to be part of the what you call it, the biblical attention. So it's baptism sites used to be around the Jordan River, still there. However, the quality of water that the pilgrims go into it, it's not a good quality. It's poor quality, and it should be holy water. It should be clean water. So we have seen a major degradation in the water quantity and the water quality. And as a consequence, the Jordan River suffered from that, but not alone. The Dead Sea is also suffering, and the whole ecosystem around the Jordan River basin suffers from the major malmanagement of the resource at the moment. Yes, there are reasons for that, but I think that the management can improve, and therefore the Jordan River rehabilitation and restoration, hopefully in the future, should be a possibility.
How does your master plan envision rehabilitating the Jordan River basin?
The master plan, it was an exceptional document that was produced on a regional level. And the main objective, not only to look at the ecosystem alone in isolation from the development needed. So we looked at how can we sustain economical development, agriculture, tourism, industries, name it, while also looking at the ecosystems and make sure that the ecosystem needs are maintained and preserved and provided. The master plan aimed at development of around 120 different projects. Those projects will help advance the utilization of water resources that can improve at the moment significantly. It can bring prosperity to the Jordan River. It needs huge effort to get that understanding between the three countries, and it will need also important resources. We at EcoPeace, we thought that this could not be done only by a non-governmental organization. It also needs partnerships, and therefore partnerships with the governments, partnerships with the private sector, and partnership with a donor agency can help to provide the funding and resources, technology in order to develop the Jordan River basin. We think that the Jordan Valley can develop from an economy of 4 billion at the moment, $4 billion per year, into an economy of 70 plus billion US dollars per year. So the economical opportunity at the moment, it will help improve the conditions of the very poor communities all along the Jordan Valley, on the Jordanian, Palestinian, and to less degree the Israelis, but it will help advancing the Jordan River to the status it requires and to the level needed in order to create sustainable development.
You've already mentioned the numerous countries that are impacted by the Jordan River and having 127 projects. Is it because each little segment as it flows down, there's a project in each of the segments of the different countries, and that's why you have so many different projects?
We needed so many projects because we have so many areas. We have 6 thematic areas. Agriculture needs to be developed. It can be improved heavily. So agricultural development projects can be boosted through technology transfer. Post-harvesting, light industries can be also advanced. So the shelf duration of the produce from the Jordan Valley can be expanded and reduce losses of around 30% of the produce at the moment. So that can be also saved. That will employ so many people. So urban development, there will be tourism development, there will be ecosystem development projects, and so on. So there will a number of issues, depollution, removing all the pollutants from the Jordan Valley basin, all the wastewater should be treated, and so on. So there is a number of projects that can be implemented. Some of them are public projects, some of them are private-led projects, and some of them could be donor-led projects. So it could be a combination of so many different projects that can help advance the Jordan River basin.
Now we'll talk about the financial impact on Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian territories and how you expect it to change. I know you have a graph from 2010 and what you expect to happen by 2050.
Yes, as I mentioned, that this will help a lot to improve the economy. And once the economy is improved, the well-being of the society will change. At the moment, there is heavy dependency on agriculture to support the local communities. So they wanted to plant more in order to gain more resources. As a result, there is more competition, producing the same exact produce, and the prices of the produce, can give you an example, could be citrus, could be tomatoes, could be bananas. The result is lower price of the yield. And that's why we have an existing economy of around 4 billion. While if we introduce innovative ideas where we plant and diversify the plantation and diversify the packaging and post-harvest and development of the different produce, then that will lead into much higher produce, and it will lead to cooperation and will lead to much strong economics. So basically, the farmer don't have to plant more land in order to gain more resources, but via diversification of the produce and using the different technology to process that produce. As an example, in agriculture, it could also apply to industry, tourism, etc. We will provide the region with sufficient resources needed for sustainable development. So that will take society from poverty into prosperity. More education and more well-being, improve the hygiene condition, improve the educational level and the living condition, etc.
So when we see these different percentages for Jordan, Israel, and Palestine, it's everything?
It's everything, yes.
Okay, and so now it's kind of skewed, and then you're looking forward to having more of a balance. What was this faith-based campaign about?
Actually, it brings me a bit of hope to see that picture and that covenant. And this was a campaign based on a study that EcoPeace did. And you can see that there was 3 publications. The publication looks at how the three different religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, looked at the Holy River, the Jordan River. And what is surprising that the 3 Abrahamic religions looks with great value to the Jordan River. They all consider it as an important resource that should be protected, that should be dealt with care, and all the rightful way to look at a resource. Of course, this is something that not everyone knows, and that's why EcoPeace wanted to say that the religious leader could spread through their congregates, through their prayers, and through their meetings to show that religion as a religion looks after the resource, and it's up to us humans in this region to respect our religions and our commands, and in order to respect the resources and work with it with care and with gentleness. That shows the covenant that is also in this presentation, and also that the leaders signed those covenants, and it showed that they acknowledge the need to have a common management, common respect, and common protection of the resource. This is something that today, unfortunately, we see that this is missing. We're in a different rhetoric, but we need to go back to the original rhetoric where things should bring us to more towards the subject of joint management and care.
I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room, which is water, and what is the impact of the need for water when you're a desert?
It is true. The Middle East is considered to be marginal land, and marginal land, it's the land that lies between the Fertile Crescent and the desert. And that's why we have fluctuation in rainfall. And in this region, it's very common that we have wet years, and also it's very common to have dry years. And sometimes the dry years can go up to 12 years of continuous drought. Coupled with climate change, the pattern becomes really unpredictable. So yes, we are in a dry, semi-dry areas, so the management of the resources should be dealt with carefulness. The whole notion of water management in the Middle East should change from by the book water management compared to European or Northern countries to a special management for dry land, and where resources is not always available. It's not always available in different localities and in the needed quality. And that's why it should be a special water management rather than water management by the book of hydrologists and managers. Therefore, special care to the nature, a special attention to the nature of this region should be paid. And we need to be able to understand what is the carrying capacity of the ecosystem, what the ecosystem can provide us. We cannot demand from the ecosystem more than it can provide. And actually what happened that we overconsumed our groundwater, we overconsumed our water resources. And that's why the Dead Sea is disappearing. The Jordan River is also lowering and shrinking. The groundwater in most aquifers are lowering and becoming saline and becoming really in poor conditions and polluted. So the water management in the Middle East has led over the years to a deterioration of the quantity of the surface and groundwater. And that's alarming. And that's why EcoPeace is calling for cooperation in order to preserve the resources for us and also for the future generation. And that's why religion is important, because religion doesn't only look at today, it looks at today and after tomorrow, and the day after, and for us and for the future generation. And that's why many people would listen to religion, and that's why we need to hint to that linkage between nature, ecosystem, water management, and religion.
I wanted to talk about access to water. And when we had our pre-interview, it really struck me. Another thing that we have in the United States that we never have to think about. We turn on the water, it's there. So what? It's a different subject for you. Can you please describe your hours of allotment and in a daily life? What is that like?
So can you give you an example from Jordan and from Palestine that water is not available in the tap 24/7. It comes certain hours per week. Where I live, I receive water 7 to 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours per week. That's why most Jordanians need to have a reservoir in order to collect all the needed water when the water comes in, store it, and utilize it carefully throughout the week until the second round of water comes. God
I'm sorry,
forbid,
what is the second round of water? You mean until it comes for the next week?
next week. And sometimes there is a problem. Could be a problem in the network or other technical problem. And if water does not come the week after, most people will have problems because they needed to buy extra water from water tankers. And that is very expensive. The cost of 1 cubic meters, 1,000 liter, is about 5 dinars in Jordan and higher in different area.
Do you know the
Today,
conversion to dollars?
it's about $7 and more per 1,000 liter. In Gaza today, the water price has reached about $30 per cubic meter, which is very, very expensive. So the
Have you,
scarcity,
sorry,
yeah.
have you had to get involved? You know, obviously, water's been a subject of Gaza, what's going on there. Has that touched any of your projects? Have you gotten involved with that?
Definitely, yes. The war and the whole notion of water access, it should not be questioned. However, in the war, the water supply to Gaza was cut. And because of that, most Gazans didn't have access to water resources. So EcoPeace wanted, among other groups, to supply Gazans with water, with the needed amount of water for the different human needs. The energy cut and the water cut, especially in Gaza, where there is no major water resources, surface water or groundwater, that put a huge risk on the population in Gaza, and that created a severe environmental and health consequence on the people. The water prices become very, very expensive. Most of the water that it is utilized today in Gaza is not very clean. It has lots of salt in it, and there is lots of pollution. Therefore, from a humanitarian point of view, this is not an acceptable situation. We think that water was weaponized, and it should not, because that's a human basic need that should be provided to everyone, regardless of their faith or color or ethnic groups or background, etc. So therefore, we have this kind of emergent call to make sure that water should be back to Gaza with the needed quantities at the moment. So yes, indeed, the water resources is severely impacted, and it's very inhumane condition, if I may say, in Gaza.
Can you talk about the impact of, for instance, not having water for toilet facilities and the vulnerability to disease?
Definitely. So the human body needs to be washed. The human body needs to be cleaned regularly. And in conditions like today, when there is less water, the water access is very limited only to drinking. And at the moment, people in Gaza don't have enough water for the different hygienic needs. So that could spread or could be the cause of spreading many diseases, including cholera, typhoid, and others between the people in Gaza. That could also transported via wastewater that is poured towards the Mediterranean Sea to all other people using the Mediterranean Sea, north and south, and that could increase the risk of spreading diseases. That is not a very good condition, that's actually very poor condition. The other impact on the human health, especially for women, it's not okay that water is limited, especially for hygienic conditions. It's very much needed for all women and young ladies to wash themselves, etc. So with clean water. And if water is limited and water is not available, then many other problems with skin and the spread of viruses and diseases. I'm not an expert in the medical field, but what I learned from our colleagues who work with the wash sector in Gaza, that it's very problematic for the health and safety of young women and people in general.
What is your Water First project?
Our Water First project, it actually it speaks about the need to come to an agreement between the Palestinian and Israelis on the water file. And this resulted from the peace agreement, the Oslo Agreement 1994, where there was lots of discussion about how to advance the water negotiation. And there was a discussion, shall we move forward with the water at the moment, since 1994, or shall we keep the water negotiation until the final stages between the Palestinians and the Israelis? And the Water First mean that EcoPeace wanted to make sure that everybody gets their water shares and rights immediately, because we wanted to make sure that especially here, the Palestinians have their access to the resource in order to develop their agricultural needs, but also meet their humanitarian needs. So could be domestic, could be agricultural and development needs. And that's why we wanted to advance this file of providing the Palestinians with their water so they can live less conflict and less difficult conditions, and to be able to prosper with throughout the process of the peace treaty.
Now I'd like to turn the discussion to electricity, and we have some maps here. Can you describe what we're seeing, please?
Yeah, but this is actually water and electricity that is needed. As you can see, that we need to make sure that both Palestinian and Jordanian and Israelis have access to the needed resources. We believe that water and energy are quite important at the moment in this region. And therefore, if we have all the water resources and all the energy needed in order to provide people with the needed resources, that will create less conflict, and that will create prosperity, and will create an advantage, because it will provide a comparative advantage to the businesses and people who live in this region. And therefore, the agreements looking at how can we provide this region with renewable energy, how can we provide the different connections needed in order to make sure that people enjoy the resource and utilize it in a safe way, in a sustainable way, will happen. So it's part of our examination. How can we make sure that everybody have access to the resources? And this also leads us to probably another topic that we're going to discuss, where the electricity should come from. And that's why EcoPeace later on proposed that the source of energy should be renewable, and we should be depending more on the natural wind and natural solar system, and probably other technologies that we would like to use. And that's exactly the slide where we wanted to have nexus between water and energy in order to bring this kind of synergy together and create a win-win situation, because our region, in some area we have good wind, in some area we have good solar area that can capture the solar energy, we can harness that, and some area we have good technology with desalination. So we wanted to create a combination of so many good factors so we can create this kind of prosperity.
It just flashed into my head with all the sun that you have in the desert. Are you able to sell that to other countries?
We hope. We start at the beginning. We've been calling for this so many years already.
Mm.
The limitation that we have at the moment, that any export of energy needs to be part of a strategy, because it requires building so many megawatts of cells, solar cells in the desert, but it also requires transfer of that energy from the production side to the demand side. And that's an expensive operation. So exporting energy, there was an Arab grid that connects Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, etc. It was disconnected for some time. Now we're working hard to bring it back to life and continuity. Of course, it will help the region to depend more on renewable energy, but expanding the export, and which is our goal here, to become the Middle East become a regional hub for renewable energy production and export that to other countries, to Europe, and so on. It's a good objective. It's an ultimate objective, but that requires huge infrastructure and stability, which is a major impediment at the moment, stability and
Sure. What was the post-coal and steel agreement?
That's exactly what we wanted to mimic. After World War II, Europeans, we remember all the destruction that happened in Europe. So the two components, or the two components that was the basis of the, again, development and prosperity in Europe was coal and steel. And we, in the Middle East, we thought that it should be water and renewable energy, because it's a dry area, as I mentioned earlier. We need water, and we have the abundance of solar radiation. We have 320 sunny day per year in Jordan with very clear sky. So this is the area, the best on a global scale, one of the best on a global scale to produce renewable energy. So we thought that the production of renewable energy and desalination could solve limitation of resources that we have at the moment and transform the Middle East from conflict, from resource deprived area into abundance, similar to the European model that happened after World War II. We hope, and we still hope, that this will come back again to bring a window of opportunity for the Middle East rather than the misery that we're witnessing at the moment.
What is the Palestinian Water Energy Exchange?
The Palestinian at the moment, they need to be active, and this is something that we always wanted to do. And from the map, you can see that we wanted to give every single country an upper hand. We don't want to create dependency on one country. We wanted to create what we call healthy interdependency. So we think that Gaza should also play an important role in desalination and providing the whole region, similar to the desalination plants on the Mediterranean side, on the Israeli side, to Jordan and the West Bank with additional water resources. Jordan and the area C at the moment, south of Hebron, in the West Bank, should also contribute significantly in the production of renewable energy. And that renewable energy can be pumped into toward the desalination plants that requires huge energy. And by doing so, the Palestinian, Jordanian, and Israeli could have what we call healthy interdependency, where balanced trade and stronger economy for all.
In today's world, is there cooperation and inter-exchange of the resources?
Yes and no. Yes, there was a cooperation, especially when it comes to water and electricity from multiple other sources. It's not no, because it's not up to the level what we needed. And today, as I mentioned before, the cut of energy and the cut of water toward Gaza shows that this is not moving in the right direction, and it's not balanced from a geopolitical perspective. It needs to be balanced. Everybody should respect the other's needs in water and energy. It needs to be further developed, not only with the three countries, but with a supra-regional context, and make sure that we provide a safe Middle East in terms of the production, depend on renewable energy rather based on fossil fuel and burning of gas, etc. So we want to have that transformation from polluting energy production into sustainable energy production.
Education is a real big part of your program. Can you talk about your various education programs?
I think that the whole organization utilizes education, because we need to understand the different water reality and the interdependency that we have in this region, and also the connections, the complex connections between our coexistence. At the moment, we do all contribute to the pollution and degradation of the Middle East. And we need to understand that we are all responsible by certain percentages, and we need to reverse that. And in order to reverse that, there should be an extensive educational program that not only limited to youth, teachers, and young people, but also decision makers and others, in order to disseminate information about reality, how poor it is, and the future, and how prosperous it could be. Or also the risks that is ahead of us if we don't work in a proper way. That's why we have a number of educational programs at EcoPeace that aim at different outcomes at the moment. And this is very important because it's very wide and, how you call it, diverse in the same time.
Yeah, and I note that you have different age groups involved, from a young to young adults. You want to talk about the teachers' education program?
Yes, the whole principle behind teacher education program is the inclusion of so many subjects that are needed to make sure that the teacher can disseminate to the students in the classroom in a curriculum and non-curriculum way, to include facts that are needed to understand the connections between people and nature. For instance, in the geography lesson, we understand about the Jordan River as part of this region, or the Dead Sea, etc. But we don't really learn how we affect the Jordan River negatively or positively. And that is something that we do teach the teachers about. What are the lessons plans that can help them to disseminate in an interactive way? How can the students understand the connection with nature? And that is really important. So we have 30 lesson plans in so many different themes: science, biology, geography, English, etc. That helps teachers to understand how can we build that connection between the subject, the dry subject, if I may say, in an interactive way, so we can create a well connected subject.
You also have a program for young professionals where they choose between the water diplomacy and the green entrepreneurship. Oh, can you explain the two choices, please?
Yes, actually, this is one of the most interesting educational tracks, It helps young youth from the age of 21 to the age of 35 to better understand the water reality, the environmental reality, and the degradation, and what are the options ahead of us in order to advance those two tracks, which is water diplomacy or green entrepreneurship. The water diplomacy, it helps us to create young leaders who can advocate for the environment, who can speak about speak in the media, so they can have media focus, or they can have social community focus, or other focuses that help advance a case in this region. So basically, we educate them to the level needed where they become agent of change within society. So they will receive environmental information and training about pitching, about presenting their cases, negotiation, etc. So their skills will improve significantly, so they can stand and defend their natural ecosystem condition or the advancement of any project.
Who are these students? Are they each nation has their own students, or are they combined between Israelis and Palestinians and Jordanian students? How does it work?
It works. We have a number of applications, Jordanian, Palestinian, Israelis from each country. They apply to the project, and each can go into a training program, national training, and also regional training. That helps them to gain their knowledge. And they come from different disciplines. They come from the water sector, they could come from energy, they could come from many other sectors in this region, and help them to advance their knowledge, but also their negotiation skills in this region.
How does that work out? So many of the organizations that I've interviewed talk about how Israelis and Palestinians, they haven't met each other before, and they have all these assumptions, and many of them, by the time they leave, are friends. And when things happen like what's going on now, they call each other. Are you okay? Are you okay? It's really beautiful. Have you seen any of that going on?
We have witnessed, yeah, definitely, we have witnessed lots of positive interaction between the alumni of the programs. That is something that is good, and we applaud. But the whole notion behind this, people to people, is important. But the whole notion is to work together towards common objectives, and that is the most urgent outcome that we are looking at the program at the moment. So the whole notion that people should understand that during conflict time, yes, we're not in agreement, but we need to be careful, because the resources does not understand our differences, and we need to be able to advance projects that has national nature, or it could have regional nature, because we do depend on each other during these difficult times on each other. And that's it's actually very challenging. It's not as easy at all to reach that level of neutrality towards the subject, and not being biased on a national level, because many people we've heard, not our alumni, but throughout the region, that we wanted to cut the resources from the others. And that's not okay at all. We definitely know that the war will end, and we need to, again, survive together. And that's why the whole rationale about the resource utilization and being professional about it is very much needed.
Yeah. Well, I think you could probably consider the Jordan Eco Park kind of one of your passion projects. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. The Eco Park it's an excellent opportunity to show that it is possible to have a positive change. This is the whole objective of the Eco Park. It's possible to have ecological restoration. It's possible to have community engagement, ecotourism. It's possible to have economical development. It's possible to advance so many positive projects in the Jordan Valley. and to improve the conditions. We have witnessed throughout since 2004 and today, major development, how local people in the Jordan Valley and started to understand the ecological concepts. They utilize the eco park as a center for environmental education. And the eco park at the moment represents an opportunity for people to learn that rehabilitation and restoration is very much a possibility, and it can be done. It's not too late to do it. We've witnessed many species coming back that were extinct or endangered in the Jordan Valley. They start to become in good numbers to the eco park because nature was protected, and there is an opportunity for them to again prosper. So from social, ecological, economical perspective, the eco park is providing an excellent opportunity to show people about the different level and the different possibilities that can be provided at low cost.
Yeah, you even have the environmental exhibition there.
Definitely, and that helps people, visitors, to start understanding the differences between the different components of the of nature and ecology, and different processes needed for water treatment or wastewater treatment, and the situation of the Jordan River. It's very much important that we raise awareness about the ecology, the state of the ecology, and what could be done if we improve our nature.
You also have this wastewater treatment plant. You want to talk about that?
Yes, that is actually one of the brilliant development. It shows that treatment of wastewater is a possibility at low cost and without ecological negative impacts. And it could be done in a very small scale, and it could be done on a larger scale. And it can show an opportunity for mimicking this model in the Jordan Valley. So many areas that cannot be connected with a centralized sewer system. And this shows that the constructed wetland can help not only removal of pollutant, but also providing resources. It could be weed, it could be clean water, and also food for nature, for the insects, as insects or for birds, etc., etc. So it provides the ecosystem with a number of what we call ecological services that is very much needed, especially in a dry area.
And what are we seeing here?
What we're seeing here, it's again the whole need to expand our utilization of solar systems to provide the needed energy. And this site, it's the site where a wastewater treatment plant in the Jordan Valley that used to require so much energy to operate. With the funding from the German government, we were able to provide that wastewater treatment plant with the needed renewable energy. So we offsetted all the electricity needed, and that provided the wastewater treatment plant with additional resources because of saving, not to pay the electricity bill. Now they have resources to upgrade the wastewater treatment plant and improve their condition. So the water energy nexus that we spoke about, it could be done on a national level, it could be done on a small project level, it could be done on a multiple various level. And also in the picture we use this as a model where we bring delegates from donors and different agencies to see that this change is a possibility and can bring lots of leverage for development.
So what are the recent developments?
Yes, we have a lot to advance in this region, as I mentioned before. As we can see from the picture on the left, biogas can be a solution that can take all the organic material, organic waste at a house level or a farm, convert that into methane production, and reduce the problem of flies in the Jordan Valley, which is a major issue, major concern. So it can provide energy, it can provide a nutrient to agriculture and remove source of nuisance such as fly.
And how does that work? I'm curious. What
It's
can you do to get rid of flies?
it's a simple biodigester that is based on anaerobic reaction. There is bacteria, it's called methanobacter. That bacteria consumes the organic material and produce methane. And that methane can be captured and utilized as a source of energy, can be burned and as at household level, provide the energy for cooking. The residue in the water phase is nutrient soluble fluid that is an excellent fertilizer, and it can go into the soil at different ratio through irrigation and can provide how you call it, alternative for fertilizers, chemical fertilizers.
Did you want to talk about these other projects?
Yes, the plastic-free campaign, and we all understand the impact of plastic, and that's why the Shared Sea project in Aqaba and Eilat worked very hard to reduce the number of plastic input as a pollution to the sea. It has negative impact on the marine environment, and the picture in the middle shows the launch of a campaign to provide paper bag, reintroduce paper bag with nice logos, a nice design as a substitute for the plastic bags that used to harm the environment. And here it's a campaign, it's a social campaign, it's an economical campaign that can provide opportunities, and it was very successful. And we hope that this not only doesn't remain in Aqaba, but also expand to the whole region, that we ban very thin plastic that is very harmful for the marine and also the terrestrial ecosystems.
And
The
last
picture on the right, it shows that cooperation, scientific cooperation, is very much needed to look after shared ecosystem. Here, the Red Sea that is under major threat because of pollution, different pollution can be acknowledged, and people can work together in order to acknowledge that threat and reduce the factors, the negative factors that affects the ocean. It could be from pollution via, as I mentioned, the plastic, or it could be transport mechanisms or pouring of wastewater into the ocean or malpractices by the visitors, etc. So there are a number of threats to the marine ecosystem, which is more important than we think. The marine ecosystem is very, very important for the stability of our globe and stability for the production of food, nutrient, and oxygen for all of us. That's why we wanted to increase the connection between the different scientific communities, activists, to make sure that it gets the attention required in order to advance areas that used to be under so much threat. We all understand the global threat to the coral reef, and the Aqaba Gulf, the Gulf of Aqaba, has one strain of corals that can be a solution for the global phenomena of bleaching of corals, because it tolerates high salinity. With climate change, we expect to increase the temperature between 1 and 2 degrees on a global level, but in our region, we expect it to be between 3 and 4 degrees centigrade. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we move ahead of the threat and trying to resolve it at early stages.
And to people who aren't environmental engineers, what does change in a few degrees mean? What are the ramifications of it?
We all understand and we all witness here in the Middle East that in the last decade, we started to witness much hotter summer. That also has an impact on water resources. We have more evaporation, so less available water in our rivers or lakes, etc. The extreme conditions comes with a consequence. And the increase of temperature could bring either very dry seasons, very long dry seasons, but it also could bring us a flash floods. And both of them are
Like we're seeing, huh?
exactly. I can give you yesterday results and data. We're in Jordan, we had 39% of the annual precipitation so far. While Lebanon, which is less than 80 kilometers in Beirut from Amman, they had 150% of their annual precipitation. And it shows that when they receive so much water in short period of time, we've seen in Beirut floods, while we still have dry area in the lower and middle part of Jordan. Although it's a small proximity, but some areas are flooded and some areas are still dry, and that is climate change. And it comes
We see the same thing here.
exactly, and it doesn't come with certainty. It comes with huge uncertainty where water will fall and what should we do. And actually, being able to adapt to that is quite hard because you cannot build so much infrastructure to absorb all the rainwater. And I think that the only way to absorb that is investment in nature. So if we invest in nature, if we restore our forests, our river, our ecosystem, those are the means to absorb the ecological or the harmful shock of the climate. That's why we need to go back to the knowledge and education about what we do. This is the model that will help. It's an economical model that will help us to identify the total amount of water needed and the value of water that is needed, what the level of infrastructure where water could come from in order to solve the complex water demand supply in this region. We understand that we have so many different water resources and we have so many different water demand areas. And if we manage to optimize the supply with demand, we can improve water access and we can reduce the costs of delivery of water from these so many different resources. But more important that we also can reach sustainable water use per resource. So for instance, we don't have to over pump groundwater. Rather, we can use the safe yield of that groundwater and provide additional resources from other sources from this region. So it's a bit of complex economical model. It helps to look at the value of water and suggests what could be done later on as a result of this model. Could be what could be done in order to achieve what we call win-win situation, where we can increase the water supply and reduce the what you call pollution side. Because part of the game that we needed so much fresh water, as a result, 80% of that fresh water that goes to the domestic area will end up as wastewater. So if we treat the wastewater in the different localities, then we can provide water for agriculture, we can provide water for nature. And it looks very complex here. This speaks about the West Bank, what needs to be done in the West Bank from different water resources, what could be done from different water supply area and demand area. It shows that what we call a multiple source or a single source for different localities, that is very much needed to look through this computer model through in cooperation with the Stockholm Environmental Institute based in Boston. How can we provide this kind of optimization so we can understand it and come up with concrete, solid propositions for solutions? So this is very much needed, if I may say, to solve many of the existing water problems and pollution.
And for our final slide, we're going to look at possible scenarios of interest.
Definitely, yes. As I mentioned before, we needed to resolve all the sources of pollution. So the untreated wastewater needs to be treated and utilized. It could go for nature, but it can be used as a resource for agriculture. And that is important. So when we speak about optimization of the resources, we don't have to have this full dependency on fresh water, but we can utilize what we call unconventional water resources. And the development of infrastructure, in order to do so, it's very much needed. So identify where the infrastructure needs to be developed, in which area, and what is the ultimate objective of that infrastructure, what services it can provide for which sector. That's also a major question that needs to be answered, because that will help on one side reduce the pollution problem, but also provide an economical opportunity for the people and improve the prosperity in that area. Of course, reutilization, reuse, recycling of the water resources can be done in a number of ways, and can provide, actually, not only for the West Bank and Gaza, but also across the region, an opportunity to improve the well-being and reduce tension between the people. Because if we live in a cleaner environment, it's different from we live in a polluted environment. If we live in a prosperous environment, it's not that if we live in a poor environment. That's why the combination of so many factors is important. And of course, I mentioned this, the desalination in Gaza, and the desalination can provide an opportunity to provide additional needed water resources. So we no longer depend on the little pie of natural water resources, but we can manufacture more for all of us, and we can provide what we call abundance rather than scarcity at the moment.
Well, thanks so much, Abed, for the essential work that you do improving the environment while helping work toward peace at EcoPeace. We learned so much about the impact of water and energy in a desert, and how many nations that can be impacted by a single source. Next week will be a very special episode. This Tuesday, we will be celebrating our 3rd anniversary of Peace with Penny. We're proud to say we now have an educational library of interviews that all impart hope that there can not only be peace in the Middle East, but in many areas it exists even today during a war. The emotions make it harder to encourage people to work together, but peacemakers believe it's even more important than ever to let people know about their work. Peace is the only way that makes sense. The organizations we interview work hard every day to get closer to achieving this. I started Peace with Penny as a birthday present to myself, as another way to spread the news that there are pockets of peace in Israel and the West Bank, even today. Wow, my peace work's been going on for a decade this year. So hard to believe. I still love it. I just feel so privileged to be able to speak with these incredible organizations, and I hope you enjoy it as well. We hope you'll join us as we celebrate our 3rd anniversary, and may you live in peace, shalom, and salam.